This week on Let's Talk About It.
So I signed the contract, and it was a very emotional day. And I made this post on Instagram about it, and it blew up. In the video, I talk about like those who are willing to try and like look stupid and keep going up. And I think, Braulio, you're like hitting a ball at me and I'm supposed to pass, and I just like fall on the floor. I'm not even close. My timing is horrible. Yeah. But I get up and you hit at me again, and it's just like 5 minutes of me flopping around. So sorry guys. Welcome to today's episode of Let's Talk About It with Cindy and Braulio Rivera. My very short timed coaches, but a huge impact. Today is just, I think, an open conversation about my experience as a volleyball player, their experience as coaches especially in New Jersey, which is just like a region of volleyball and just like of my life that's super important. Yeah. I want to talk about me as a player as much as you guys remember.
Yes.
You guys, like your approach to coaching and just the impact that coaches have. I think that's what every episode I try to come up with the topic. That's the topic, coach's impact. But I think realistically, it's just a fun way for me to go back down memory lane and hopefully to prove to the people that DM me and I message that I'm being serious when I say that you just have to find the right coaches and you just have to be willing to try. So I want to start with, do you guys remember like me coming into Xtreme? Like Cindy, I know you do, Braulio. Remember?
Yeah, he needs a little bit of a memory lane reminder, but I probably can remember.
I remember when she was taller than me because I'm only 5'10". I remember she coming in and I have to look up a little bit. I'm like, okay, and you have the height. I also remember that you were very athletic. Of course, the skills were not there. But you were really you were a go-getter. You were like, I want to learn this. We can actually see it in your eyes that you wanted to learn. And I remember you also like going after the balls. Like, I don't know if beginners, when you like, instead of shuffling, you step forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you used to do. Yeah. So I was hitting the ball. You were step forward instead of just shuffle forward and getting it. And we have to do it over and over again. But I mean, you were very athletic, so that stand out for me: the height and the athleticism.
Thank you.
So,
yeah, for me, I think I look at a player very differently. I recognize your smile and your determination. You could see it in your face. And I remember having a conversation, I think, with your mom, and she's like, "Listen, this kid want to start playing volleyball, but I don't know where she can take the game to." But I do recall that she said, but she will work hard. And I said, you know what? That's all we need. At the end of the day, you make it what you want it to be, but you have to want it. So I remember those things. And I remember you never give up. You smile at everything, every little silly mistake, but you were driven and you could just tell. And I'm like, okay, we have the height, which we cannot teach.
Yeah.
You have the athleticism, that's natural, we can teach. But volleyball, we can help.
Yeah, and you did.
And I do remember the footwork also for attacking was like a basketball move type of thing.
Layup.
Jumping with one leg. Yeah, I remember those little things like, okay, she's jumping with one leg, but she can jump really high. So that's a positive. But now we have to get on that technique of doing the proper footwork. So yeah. I remember all those little things.
So just a lot of butts.
Yeah. So it was a lot of layout. Like you were trying to lay out the ball, but you were spike it, of course. And okay, we have to work on that. But yeah, I think
I don't know if you guys are willing to answer this question, but would you have ever believed that I was gonna go play in the ACC 3 years after that time? Like seeing me play then, would you have ever guessed that?
And then get signed for play in Germany, right? Really big.
So I think you know what? I don't know that I would not have believed you, because I don't know if it's gonna be a 2 year, 3 years, or 4 year thing, but I know you'll get there. Like in our mind at that point, it was very difficult to see from the timeline, but I think we did not disbelieve your ability
Yeah,
to be able to play for a top club like that. I think it's just a matter of time. And I know in some of your questionnaire, probably down the road, ask like these, like some of the player these days, right? They all have high hope, right? But are you willing to put your time into it? And I think this is the difference between athletes like yourself, or folks that are just able to, advance to that different level of playing, versus the pipe dream, right? I want to
Mm-hmm.
get to
yeah,
that point, but I don't know if I want to put in the work. So, but I think we could talk
correct.
a
I
little bit
think
more
that's
about that down the road. Yeah.
no, no, but that's true. I think we see a lot of players that are very athletic. They have the athleticism, but then this the work is not there. And of course, at that time, we didn't know how much you're gonna develop, but we can see you were athletic. We can see that you were, like I said, you were a go-getter. You want to go learn, but we couldn't tell how far you were gonna take it because it's a journey that you can take.
I want to give more context to everyone listening right now. So, timeline for me, I started playing volleyball maybe July of 2016, going into my freshman year. When I say started playing, I meant went to open gym at my high school. I Coach Maria Nolan was the head coach at IHA at the moment. She like pulled me aside, tried to teach me how to pass, and from that moment I was hooked. Throughout the entire open gym and like going for weeks after that, leading up to tryouts, I was just mesmerized by the game of volleyball and really wanted to participate, but didn't have the skills and understanding of the game to like do it well. So I would always join in on the scrimmage or the drills, and I would mess it up. Like, volleyball is a pretty collaborative game, even if you are like trying to beat the other team, and I just did not have the skills to get there, and that was a huge problem for me my freshman year playing and going into my second year of high school volleyball. And so I needed the actual skills. And so that's why my mom enrolled me in one-on-one private training with Braulio at Xtreme, and then eventually started to get more involved with the club up until the end of my sophomore year, which is ultimately when we ended up moving to California. And so playing at Xtreme maybe 1 to 2 times a week, doing these one-on-ones on top of practicing with the club teams and doing like every camp and possible like thing that they had in the state of New Jersey. I would go to Xtreme like twice a week, and I felt like I would come to you with a question like every week. It's like how I
Yes.
remember it. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would be like, okay, this thing happened. How do I do that?
yeah,
Yeah, and that shows that you're processing that information. You recognize the issues that you're having, right? Or where you lack in terms of knowledge of the game. The volleyball IQ is starting to come in. And that's important, right? Because you need to be able to ask the right questions so that you can understand in your own term, right? Because we can explain things in various way, but it's always difficult, right? For anyone sometimes to be able to understand it. But yeah, we remember you're very inquisitive, which is good, and we actually encourage kids to continue to do that.
and that's something that we try to teach. You have to learn how to self-correct because the coach is not always there for you. So of course, we will do our best to guide you through it, but you have to learn to, okay, I made this error. How do I fix it? So that's key for your development.
Yeah, I like what you're saying. Like, your coach isn't always like gonna be there. That was another reason that the privates and coming to you guys helped, because I you can't have an hour of one-on-one training during a big club practice or a high school practice,
Right.
which is what I really needed. And I say this all the time, like, you need to have people around you that you feel comfortable making mistakes and looking silly with.
Yes.
You don't want it's very difficult to perform well when you're terrified to make mistakes in front of the
Yeah,
coach
yeah.
that's gonna dictate your playing time, or
Hmm.
whether you're going to get recruited or not.
Yeah.
And I was able to make those mistakes with girls who weren't necessarily my closest friends and my peers at school, and with coaches that weren't handling my recruiting emails.
Yeah.
Like that
Got it,
kind of
got it,
thing.
got it, got it.
I really loved that. That's something I always recommend. I know that it can be a financial barrier for people, but when you think about Xtreme and what you want for your players, like what is your
Hmm.
philosophy and your
At least for the club or for me is that I try to follow the guidelines from the USA volleyball Olympic team, which is basically is you have to continue to learn. You have to continue to learn. You have to continue to develop, and that's for both coaches and players. They also believe in a lot of repetitions, a lot of touches, game-like playing, and the players' development. So those are things that we try to make sure that all our coaches at the club follow through. You know what I mean? That's our
Yeah.
guidelines.
And I think to kind of, to generalize that, right? It's really empowering the player to encourage through encouragement, right? Be okay to make mistakes. Be okay to look silly, right? Because if you don't have that experience, it doesn't necessarily going to help you with your skill improvement, right? Because, and I try to tell some of these kids, they all try to learn volleyball through TikTok. I'm like, okay, I don't know that's the best way to learn because they all think they can perform the same as what they see on the video, right? That's okay. We sometimes we let them say, okay, show me what you are learning through TikTok, right? Because obviously, in my mind, it's like, well, we're here to teach you, but okay, show me, because you want them to be able to also express where their
Mhm.
thought
Yeah.
process are, and kids these days they learn visually, so I get it. And I think it's good for them to be able to have that experience, and I'm like, show me what you learned, what you saw on TikTok, and then you kind of chuckle, you'll do, and but then that shows at least that they're not afraid to demonstrate that, and I think that's important, right? Because I feel like there's some coaches that are very, very tough on, not willing to listen to the players. It's just very like focused on what I say goes. But I feel like there should be some communication, right, that between two players. So really the philosophy's got to be clearly communicating, encourage the process of learning through mistake, and ultimately they're going to get to where we felt their ability, individual ability, can be successful, and then you continue to go from there.
I think too what I always associate you guys with too is just like fun, which
Thank you. That's good. Thank you.
We don't think we are always fun.
Sometimes we forget about that, but we try to make it fun.
Yes.
which I
Good.
think for some clubs is a unique piece. I think all clubs market the fun and all of that, but I think youth sports is just getting so much more serious now, especially
Oh
volleyball
yeah.
with the growth and just how much attention around it like there is, and there's just this hyper competitive thing. Um,
Yeah.
I've seen it even more now that I've left Jersey, but especially in New Jersey because it's already not seen as a huge region for volleyball, and a
Mhm.
lot of our players are overlooked.
Yeah.
How do you guys approach that piece of like being from Jersey and handling like that competitiveness and wanting to help your athletes be seen, but also making it a good environment?
Yeah, that's definitely a great question. I think there's definitely a lot of great players in Jersey that may not always get the fair shake, right? And I think it's also the exposure, right? Traveling
Yeah.
across the country for tournaments, and again, right, it's all a bit of a financial burden. What we try to do as a club, as well as individual as a coach, what we always tell the players, as well sometimes parents, right? Say, listen, we have to know our ability, right, as individual player, and then we're also understand that when we as coaches, because we obviously have experience understanding the, I say the level of play, right? Where if they want to look to advance to that next level in the collegiate, right, competition, perhaps that we don't necessarily look at school that's really, let's say the top D1s or even top D2s, right? Perhaps let's look at where we felt it would be best fit and also focus on academic, right? At the end of the day, I always start a conversation a lot of times that we're not raising Olympians. And if we do have one on hand, I will definitely recommend you to pick up, move over out to West Coast or where places that your child would be the best trained. And listen, it's realistic, right? I don't think that's unrealistic. But at the same time, if they really want to play, there's always an opportunity to play in a collegiate level. We just have
Yes.
to make sure, from a recruiting perspective, maybe attend schools that you really are interested, right? And we also, as a club, we do help the players try to identify, right, what makes sense, the level of play. And then, hopefully with that in mind, that we can help them. I think sometimes I just have to have a really realistic expectations as well, just based on what we're seeing. And listen, if you go to a tournament, right? Let's go look. Different division. You could tell,
Yep.
same age, you have open player who are, competing at a different level than when we're playing at a USA or Patriot League, right? Or in a Liberty League. Like there's just a difference. So just kind of able to translate these differences in terms of level of play can also help, get them prepared for their ultimately desired destination.
Yeah, that was a huge thing that I remember my mom both my parents talking to me a lot about when I was coming to see you guys. When we would watch volleyball videos like all the time. And it
Yeah.
was always like, funny enough, it was ended up being the girls at Coast who I ended up playing with and are now some of my best friends, like of who
Oh,
I
awesome.
would watch before. And that
That's
was
great.
its own bottle of can of worms that when I bring on my Coast coaches and teammates, like we will talk about, they already know, but like we'll talk about that at some point. But there was a bias that I had, and I think so many players have, about what's the best team or what's the best coaching or where am I really going to get better. And that was like a huge bias that I had that I'm not afraid to share. And I think that's like why I
Mhm.
want to like have this conversation with you guys as well, is like sometimes as a player, even if your goal is Olympics or the best D1 program or whatever it is, you have to realize where you are and what you need.
Oh,
And
that's very important. Yeah.
right, and like the growth, I would not have gotten the same growth if I had gone to do my one-on-ones and my like, honestly, it was confidence training to come to you
Yes.
guys. Confidence training at the top club in New Jersey or the top gyms with the top girls. I wasn't at the part in my career yet where training there would help me with the confidence or even with my skills. I wasn't going to be prioritized. I wasn't going to feel comfortable. I
Mhm.
wasn't going to try as well as I could going somewhere that was worried about developing and me as a player and all of these things. And I was able to get that benefit. And so that's kind of, to me, that's the thesis.
No, and I think
I
you
think
hit
that's
the
important.
nail. Yeah, you hit the nail on
Yeah.
the head, right? For a player to develop confidence is through learning their skill. Once you are sound with your skill, the confidence naturally just comes in, right? And I think that's the key part where, a lot of people ask, well, how do you get confidence? Well, confidence is not just a mental thing, right? The confidence thing is about you knowing your ability to how to play the game. How can you excel in the game? And it just comes in naturally. Like you don't even have to be taught.
But I think it's also what you said, right? If you are not ready even though I'm not saying that you shouldn't try, but if you are not ready for a certain level, you have to work your way up, right? But we're seeing a lot of players that try to jump from where they are to another level, and sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes, as you can see,
They regress.
but you know what I mean. We as coaches, we want to support you, and everyone has to make their decisions. You know what I mean? So, it's your decision. Go for it. You know what I mean? We don't want to discourage anyone, right? Because we could be wrong. You know what I mean? We could be wrong. The only person that knows is you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, you think you're ready? All right, go for it. But we as experienced coaches, we usually sometimes we don't see it. We
Mm-hmm.
go, I don't see it, but if that's what you're feeling inside and that's what you want to do, go give it a try.
Yeah, and for me, it worked out, but it didn't work out immediately. Like, I came from IHA in my previous clubs. I worked with you guys. I built confidence and honestly just belief that I could do it. Okay, I have hit a one ball fast and hard. I've passed this ball at a top speed. I can do this. And then we moved to California and I did end up playing for the top club in the country. But I was on the bench, right? I did not really play, and my thought process again was, okay, getting into an environment where I can make the mistakes. Now it's I'm making better mistakes.
Yes.
Like now I was making mistakes. I was really just practicing, but I was practicing against the best girls in the country. Like at the time, prep volleyball people don't come for me. It's the general statement. But it's like I was only able to do that and make those mistakes against those girls because I was able to make them by myself alone as well and feel comfortable with it.
That's great information. You know what? That's great information for players to listen to. And we're wondering if you could talk to some of our club players when we start our
Yeah.
club season. So maybe you can share that experience with them.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, though. I mean, I know you said that you were sitting on the bench. Would you have preferred to play, let's say, on this, actually play, but one level lower?
So this was an opportunity that I had.
Okay.
And it actually,
Like, but you know what I mean? The difference, like either sitting at the bench or playing at the second club team, and probably you're going to be playing against the first.
yeah, and it was actually a similar, the decision was playing at the particular club I was at, like at Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone in the age group got their name on every coach's list just for the sake that we were at that club and we would go to those tournaments.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So my perspective on it was I still was a bit delusional in my goals of where I wanted to play.
Well, you were young.
That's
You were
okay.
young. You were
That's
young.
okay.
I
Yeah,
was
you were young. That's
at 17, 16. So I did get offered a chance to play on the second team, on the twos team, where I would have more consistent playing time. My thought process was most people were still already committed, like to the school. Like most people in my age group in 2018, 2019 were already committed to the D1
Mm-hmm.
school. So there weren't very many like possibilities open. And so I was like, okay, well, the chance, like, there's not many open spots regardless. So them coaches seeing me a ton versus me being on the bench more wasn't going to make a huge difference in terms of like general middle spots
I see.
open.
Gotcha.
got it.
My thought process was, at least with this team, it's like all the top coaches who might end up having a space will come to our court. And I'm getting pushed to be even better than I was at because my sophomore year, my 16th year, I had a really great year at NYC Juniors where I was the top player and I got interest.
Right.
So there were schools like Cornell and different things like that were interested in me by the time I was choosing my junior year where to play. And so I thought, okay, these schools are somewhat already interested. They've seen me play. Me not playing on the best, top 3 team in the country isn't going to take that away because they know I'm third to an All-American. So my thought was, why not risk it? Just risk it and see if I could get anything even better.
Yeah.
Or if when I do choose one of these schools, when I do get to school, I'll have pushed where maybe now I might be able to be a starter as a freshman rather than
Yeah.
like I was just at that point I was just trying to improve my actual like skill. And I felt like I had already sat the bench and I'd already had all the embarrassment and the people make fun of me and doubt me and all of that I didn't care. I was like, look, I sat the bench in Jersey. I can sit the bench at Nationals in California.
But you know though what you said sort of resonate, right? Because your decision making, you actually thought through your thought process. And it's not about
Yes.
having that title, right? Because I think there is that perception of, you know what, I just want to be on that top team, right? It's more of a, I hate to say status thing versus, hey, you know what is that going to get me out of, right? I don't mind the sitting,
Mhm.
but if I get to train with a better player that can put me in a different position, but I feel like that's not always the thought process, which is fine if that's what you want, sure. But I think, perhaps, like to your point, right? Have it thought process in terms of why you want to be, why you have to be, like, why would you rather be on that team where you're probably not going to see a whole lot of playing time versus be on a team where you will get the maximum playing time possible during competition. But I think at least you did think through the process of why you
Yeah,
want it. And I think
understood
that's
it.
important.
Yeah. Any word? Any
Yeah.
word? Yeah,
It did work. I
any
think if
word?
I was
Yeah.
it did. I think if I was a sophomore rather than a junior, I think the second team probably would have been the option because I did need
Yeah.
that confidence. That was the
Yeah.
thing. Like when I was feeling, and I did not, it wasn't a fun time. Like I
Oh, I'm sure.
struggled. I mentally struggled.
So can you talk about that? Like, how do you mentally struggle, especially when you were sitting on the bench, right? How did that affect you? Like,
Well,
what was going through your mind?
did I make a horrible mistake and choose the wrong?
At least you're honest about it. Well, yeah.
I sat on the bench also when we played in college, so so I understand the feeling.
I want to say too, like I didn't make that decision when it came to getting to college. That was a decision I made in search of the greater goal.
Hmm.
But I didn't make that decision when it was time to be in college. When it was time to choose where to go to school, there was an option to be a walk on at a Power Five school where I felt like I probably would not play or I would be struggling my entire career just to get on the court and to, in my opinion, I felt to be respected as a person on the team. And then there was the option to go to Cornell and have a serious chance at contributing and being, you know, I'm just going to say it, to contributing right away. And I ended up choosing Cornell. So that was one where it was like the coolness factor of the volleyball were
Yeah.
significantly different.
Gotcha.
I didn't make that decision when it came to the actual goal. I wanted to play and I wanted to have that success.
I think that's a key word, right? You want to contribute. You want to contribute to the team, and contributing meaning there are different meanings to that. You want to support your team even if you're not playing, but you also want to jump into the court and actually participate. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I think it has to be a balance of, and that was a great decision, right? I want to go to the school. I already know how it felt to be on the bench. I want to play. So, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
That was not fun. I want to go and I want to play. Yeah.
Delayed gratification is only so great if at the end you end up getting the gratification.
That's correct. And I think kids need to think about that. Yeah, it's okay to sit on the bench and experience that and support your team because they're gonna support you when you're playing as well. But you want to participate, you want to contribute to the team because it's rough to sit a whole tournament and not see the court.
Yeah, it is.
It's rough, especially when your parents are paying for it too. You're paying a lot of money and you're
But
just
what
sitting
makes
on the
it
court.
easier is when you know on Sunday you're going to see Braulio and Cindy at Xtreme.
Oh.
No, but it
Oh.
does. And the principle of
Uh,
what I had with you guys, I've continued
uh,
throughout my volleyball career, where even when I was on top teams, or even when I was actually even in college, even as early as this year, I've always had outlets connected to volleyball that weren't related to that team.
That's
I've
awesome.
always had, okay, I'm on this team at Coast 17s, but I need more reps, or I need a coach that I can feel that I can make mistakes with and ask with. And I had a one-on-one coach that I would work with at Coast, or I would go to the 16s team to play down to feel confident for practice.
That is great.
At Cornell, I would come back and I would practice at my old club. Or even at Syracuse, like I had some friends that played volleyball just like for fun, and I like went with them and played with them just to have like that fun piece again, where there's no pressure. It's so important, and I think that's like so impactful.
I think that experience that you and your parents went through, I think will really help a lot of kids. So they understand where you're coming from and what to expect and not be, because once again, once you're in that situation, it requires mental toughness. Like you
Hmm.
said, sometimes you wanted to go, oh, maybe I made a big mistake. Or maybe, oh, maybe this is not my sport. You know what I mean? It goes, a lot of things go through your mind when you find yourself in that situation. But if they know that someone went through it just like yourself, they might go, okay, if I find myself in this situation, I know what to do.
Hmm.
It might help them. Yeah, I can see that happen.
I need to get one sec. I need to get my mom.
Okay.
It's funny, I'm sure. Mom, hi, how are
Oh
you? It's
my
good to see you.
God. How are you doing?
My mom had a big impact on this whole thing. So I'll ask you a question, I guess.
How did I have a big impact on what
Well,
thing?
because she made me come. So,
Oh,
so I've been talking to them a lot about like going there was a helpful, like a confidence builder, and I didn't. The fact that they weren't my like coaches making decisions for me playing time was huge. Where did you even get the idea to find completely unrelated people to coach me, and why did you keep having me work with them? Because I was not necessarily like up for it in the beginning. I was like, this seems like a lot.
well, I mean, one, I knew that you were very serious about wanting to switch to volleyball, but I just being an athlete myself and playing the sport and playing many sports, I realized like you have to learn the sport. Like you have
Yeah.
to learn more about the sport. You were really just using all athleticism, and that was
Hmm. Yep.
great, but you need to have an opportunity to grow in the sport, and playing on the team you were on for high school, the team you and your high school club team was associated with your high school. It didn't give you a safe environment to just learn and feel like you weren't being judged. So I mean, really the goal was, I didn't know we'd have this long connection, but really the goal was just find a safe place for you to learn all the skills as if you were just coming to learn the sport, not because you were a good athlete before and the coach was like, oh, I think we can use you on the team. Oh, you're already fit for this position. you know, Going into their gym allowed you to learn all the different positions, learned you, gave you the opportunity to just a safe space. And I felt immediately after talking to them that they're gonna tell you where you're at. And I think they had a style that you felt comfortable with to hear it, but then they like built it all up, right? So yeah, your passing is not great, but we're gonna improve it, and we're gonna keep passing it until you get it to this spot. But it was with love, heart, and the way they had it set up, coming into the gym, just a lot of just hands-on playing and having fun. I think it was important. That was a good learning from basketball. It's just making sure that you're getting as much fun out of it as you're learning. So yeah, those were some of the reasons.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're
No,
glad to hear that. Yeah.
yeah. I remember that conversation when you first came in and you kind of gave us a little background as to what she needed. And I think what we were really impressed about is that you said it exactly what it is, right? She just want to learn. She's new to the game and do whatever we need to do to help her, right, to improve her skill. And I think having that support from a parent's perspective, it also makes us coaches a lot easier because I think
Yeah, that's good.
you didn't set any specific expectation, right? You basically said, here's my child, go teach her. And I will support you whatever you need, right? From any other, any way, shape, or form we need it. And I think that's really important because if we don't have that assurance from your perspective, it almost put a different kind of pressure on the coaches to deliver. Where at the end of the day, we can't play for them, right? We could teach them how to play. So I think that was super important, and I think hopefully, parents that listen to this podcast can also take that away from it, what you just said to us.
100%.
The other thing I always say, because, I've been around coaches, they always tell, don't let a coach or let someone take away your desire. It's always on the
Right.
player. And I definitely
Hmm.
do believe that. But I do think a coach can add to the confidence or
Hmm.
I'll take it away.
diminish the confidence a little bit. And I think that it's always important in youth sports for people to add to the confidence. You can
Hmm.
still be critical and saying, hey, this is where you need to grow, but it should always be in building their self esteem.
Yeah.
And that was very clear in your gym that you were about building up, and you could feel it from the energy of all the people there. And so I think that was a really most important thing is she was in a time where she needed her confidence to be built
Hmm.
while receiving very critical feedback so that she could develop, right? So
Yeah.
that was really good. And, you guys should be really proud that you have that energy in your gym.
Oh, thank you. No, we definitely are proud, and especially when we see, where some of the, our players especially just have come through, gone through their journey and where they end up, whether playing at a high level or just simply having fun, right? Just playing the game that we all love. I think that itself is enough to them, to just be happy about the outcome. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, yay! Thank you guys so much for coming on the show.
Oh my
I'm
God, we
so
you gotta keep us posted, and if you don't mind, like Braulio
Yes.
said, like we would love to reach out for to you to see when you have a spare time moment, maybe perhaps just before our club season start, just having you speak to the girls or whatever is
And to the parents
doable.
as well.
Yeah.
the parent.
For both the
Yes,
Let's
the
parents and
parents.
the player.
we'll find a time where we can do a Zoom all
Absolutely.
together.
Okay, that
Yes.
sounds great. We
I
will
think
definitely reach out. Yes.
thank you for being my first podcast, by the way.
Oh, you're one of many more. Now everyone's gonna hear this. They're gonna be like the coaching gurus. Like everyone's gonna want you guys on their show.
Listen, I
Thanks
mean, I know
again.
we have to go, but thank you for letting us be part of your journey. Like seriously, I think that this is, sometimes we don't think about these things, but this kind of just it's humbling. So thank you.
It is, it
Thank
is.
you.
All right. Bye, Sydney.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Take care, guys.
Hey guys, it's Sydney. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Let's Talk About It. If you did, make sure to leave a review and send it to a friend. Let's keep this conversation going. I'll see you guys next week.